Hi, my name is Erin Callahan, and I wrote this book, The Art of Escaping. And one of the inspirations for this book was Dorothy Dietrich, who is sitting right here next to me, along with Dick Brookz.
Wow.
They are magicians. Dorothy is also an escape artist. And they together run the Houdini Museum in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is where they are right now. And I'm going to ask Dorothy some questions, also Dick some questions, and possibly they will ask me some questions about my book. So let's go. So Dorothy, I know your origin story of your brothers, and I love the story, your brothers tying you up in games of cops and robbers, and you escaping, and at some point someone saying to you, who do you think you are, Houdini? And wow, you showed them. So what was it about Houdini that drew you to the art of escapology and magic, stage magic?
I think Houdini kind of inspires a lot of people. The concept of getting free is like, it's something that a lot of people need to be able to do. And doesn't mean get out of a box. It doesn't mean it means whatever you're stuck in, whatever thing is holding you back, if you could just get away from it. And like, people like to know, they want to know, what was my first escape? And I say, when I ran away from home.
Right.
That's
powerful. Yeah. And I mean, I agree. I think escape art is something that has literal and figurative meaning, which is a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah. Which was good about your book.
Yay! Don't hide the book. Okay, so next question. When you two were first starting out, I think you actually met in like a dime store museum / grind show in Times Square. Is that correct?
I wouldn't call, well, grind show sounds funny, but
I think it sounds cool.
It is cool, but let me explain what it is, because it sounds funky. Basically, what that show was is it was a grind show, but grind meaning it's one show after another after another. It's a big open space with stages all the way around the room, and every act has their show set up, and the audience comes in. They go to that stage, they see that show. Then they move from stage to stage to stage, and then the next they get that crowd out. Oh, and this guy Tissue Booty was one of the acts, and he was wonderful. He was the guy he would stick needles all over him. Tissue Booty. For real. And he would let people stick needles in him, and it was just everywhere. I can't imagine him living a long life, but because that's not normal. And then Congo, the jungle creep, was wonderfully entertaining. He was a guy. He was dressed in an African loincloth and like a leopard skin thing with very cool, very not a lot of clothes. And he'd come out on stage
But not very attractive either.
Not a great no, not a great looking guy. And so he had this big bucket, like an old wooden bucket with water in it. And he would start off and he'd go, "Brouhaha! Brouhaha! Come down from there! Brouhaha!" And everybody would look like, "Whoa, where's Brouhaha? Where's Brouhaha?" He goes, "Come down, you witch!" And it was just riveting. The man was so great at this. And it was like he could see things in the room that weren't there. So then he would clear the crowd by saying, "I'll fix you." And he reaches into the bucket and he has like lots and lots, hands full of snakes. And they're like,
and
he runs toward the crowd, and the crowd is like, "I'm out of here. This guy's nuts. I don't know what he's going to do next." He was great.
It actually originated from the 10-in-1 in the circus.
Oh, okay.
Which was 10 performers under one tent, and you would go in a circle. But in this case, why it was a grind is when you went full circle, you'd start again.
It's like you had many shows a day.
And this was in Times Square, where there was a constant flow of people.
That was actually one of my follow-up questions for that is, Times Square was a very different place back then.
Yeah.
And how do you guys feel about that? Times Square now versus
Times
Square.
It's Disney-fied now.
Yeah.
And it's not really Times Square. It's a different version of it. It's like a Hollywood version of Times Square.
And we actually didn't meet there. We met in agents' offices.
Oh, okay.
We
okay.
would be looking for the same jobs from the same agents
Got it.
and or similar jobs. I was doing more of a stand-up act than a magic act. Comedy, stand-up comedy, and we go from office to office. Maybe they were all in the same area, 1650 Broadway, and so. But if you had to go a little distance, we might take a cab to the next one together, or we would walk together.
You'd either have like a long way to walk, or you get on the subway, or you get on in a cab, and like, why not? If you're going to be doing that, they called it the go-sees. You would go see agents, and you had to do it, and it was great, and it was also pitiful because it wasn't necessarily fruitful every time.
Right.
You know, like you'd go to the agent, now he already has your brochure, he already has your photo, he already has your resume, but every time he'd go, all right, let me see your picture and resume, and you'd put it there, he'd have it on his desk, and you know that as soon as you leave, he goes like this into the
trash.
Yeah, it's like,
Lovely.
But in those days, there were a lot of supper clubs, which was a dinner place that had entertainment and a band.
Right.
And they mostly ran on weekends. Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, whatever. So you would start out Monday to go see the agents to get the weekend for these jobs. Then if you didn't get the job, then you'd go Tuesday. If you didn't get a job, you'd go Wednesday. So it was a falling off situation like this.
but they're also running out of acts by the end of the
Right.
So,
And then by
so
Thursday,
yeah, your chances get better closer to the
And then-
weekend.
by Thursday, if you didn't have a job, you didn't have a job. That was it for that week.
But there were so many cool things, though, about that whole thing, because the hotels in New York were fabulous in that they would have a happy hour, and all of the acts, all the different performers, actors, singers, dancers, they knew the schedule. They knew which hotels had the best hors d'oeuvres for happy hour, and that was actually dinner for most of the acts in town. And so it was wonderful. You had to buy 2 drinks.
Or one, it
I'd
depended.
buy two Cokes, and I'd be good for dinner. It would be so cool.
Free apps.
But you hang with all your,
Networking.
yeah, it was all
It's
like,
important.
it was very cool.
And the people that ran, and these were in some of the big hotels, but they liked it because people in theater are entertaining, they're flashy, they're good looking often.
Yeah.
So it helped their business as well, so they didn't complain.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So how many female performers were in the 10-1 show?
And Lady Esteline.
So
And-
you
Oh,
and
yeah.
one other.
Lady Esteline. And she was so cute, adorable little old lady. And she was too old to be still working, but she was. And she was a sword swallower,
For real.
for real. Now,
Not a trick sword
she
swallower.
didn't aspire to become a sword swallower. However, her husband was getting very ill. He no longer could swallow the swords. So he taught her how to do it. And so she was, I don't know how many people could do it, but she had the 12 sword sandwich. And oh my gosh, she was the sweetest lady on the planet. She was just a sweet lady.
And there were no other women, right?
No.
Or even assistants. No women
No.
assistants, nothing.
No.
So pretty male dominated.
Yeah.
Well, it was a rough life.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't that rough for us, but it can be a rough life if you depend on that for a living. We did not depend on that for a living. It was just a thing that happened. It was convenient, and so we did
I thought it was cool. I thought
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
great.
cool.
And the idea is that it's like show after show after show, and you could do something that you wanted to break in.
Right.
Because
you get an opportunity.
yeah, it's like you get
10
like
minutes.
the next crowd's going to come in. You're going to see. You can even change it from show to show what it's going to be.
And I don't know the number, but if you talk to people in comedy or stand-up, they'll tell you before you can even become anybody, you need like 1,000 hours of,
Right.
of stage time.
Yep.
So that's what was good about this. You unconsciously you develop a style and a casualness. You're not nervous anymore.